Hi there, my name is Krista, here to talk about stalking by proxy and the Stanford prison experiment. As a survivor of stalking by proxy, I've reflected on this Stanford prison experiment that was executed, took place around 1971. I've reflected on this several times, and I want to talk with people a little bit about it and why I think this program, the experiment, is alive and well today. And um, just to elevate some awareness and how do we sort of manage life being stalked by proxy or getting stalked and coupled with remote neural monitoring, directed energy weapons, Havana syndrome, and so forth, and tinnitus. So the Stanford prison experiment, for those who aren't aware of it, is was an experiment that took place. You can find this on Wikipedia, by the way, but it took place around 1971, I believe, and it was 24 male students. They were university students. They weren't from the outside, and they assigned half of them as prisoners and half as prison guard. And it was supposed to last approximately 2 weeks, but they had to end it early. They ended it after 6 days. They had to terminate it altogether because of the severity of the psychological distress that the prison guards, their behavior against the prisoners. So the findings, what I'm just going to read this. The findings were that it demonstrated how quickly participants adopted their assigned roles, with the guards becoming increasingly abusive and the prisoners showing signs of emotional distress and demoralization. Apparently, this program it is reflected on in psychology classes today. Um, it, it says the Stanford prison experiment is highly controversial due to its ethical issues, including the lack of informed consent, the psychological harm inflicted on participants, and potential for bias in the results. Despite the ethical concerns, the study has had an impact on the field of social psychology, highlighting the power of situational factors in shaping human behavior. It continues to be used as a case study in psychology courses to illustrate the importance of ethical considerations in research and the potential for social roles in human behavior. So this experiment demonstrated that individuals today can be paid, whether it be a gift cards or a heftier sum, depending on their level of involvement, can be paid to harass and stalk someone via proxy, and they have no qualms with that. They have no qualms taking a paycheck for harassing someone. This has shown the depravity, honestly, of the human mind, of the human soul, the depravity of where we've gone to as a society. But that wasn't something I meant to bring up or intended to talk about. But it does indicate that. It just indicates the degradation of our society. That individuals are willing to do these things, and these things are not just taking place, as many of you know, not just taking place in the United States, they're taking place all over the world. So the Stanford Prison Experiment is one that was in the 70s. The other program that took place in the 1970s and 80s was something in Eastern Germany called Zersetzung, spelled Zersetzung. And it's a German word for decomposition or disruption, and was a psychological warfare technique used by the Ministry of the State, the Stasi, to repress their political opponents in East Germany during the 1970s and 80s. So it was covert means. They were targeting dissidents who were outspoken, using secret methods, abuse control, psychological manipulation to prevent anti-government activities. So read up on that. That's on Wikipedia. There was a writer who was targeted, who died of leukemia, they believe, from the X-ray weapon devices that were used against him. And he described the assault. He described that what he went through as an assault on the human soul. Um, it's estimated there were up to 10,000 individuals that became victims of Zerzutzun, but other people, my contemporaries, talk about who are stalked and experience remote neural monitoring and electronic harassment. theorize that this is alive and well today. These techniques to sort of take away everything that's sort of important to a person and isolate a person and then stalk them and kind of do this multi-pronged approach to try to destroy a life. This is very well in operation today. And we can look at examples of, like, for example, the quiet skies list. People can be put on quiet skies lists for no reason. There are people with no criminal background, and it's that TSA program that uses algorithms intelligence to identify individuals they think need enhanced screening for domestic and international flights. Political leaders have been put on these lists for no reason. Nobody tells them why, but if you're outspoken, like this Zerzutsum program, if you're outspoken maybe about another party or somebody in power dislikes you because of something that you said, then they can put you on these lists, one being the Quiet Skies program. The other program that is important to research would be the DoD biosurveillance program. Because of the technology in our environment and the not the technology, the chemicals in our environment. Now the bodies are hackable. Yuval Harari, I think that's his first name. Harari says, that humans. He wants to see humans change, and calls people refer to humans as hackable animals. Well, the brain to computer interface is patented. It's well known. It's been worked on for, there's documentation dating back, I think, to the 90s, I think a couple decades now. So all of this is current, but the mass public is not aware of the kind of extreme where we've gotten to in terms of technology. It's not well known, but you can find documents and all these conferences taking place in the US and around the world about brain to computer interface, biosurveillance. These are everyday occurrences today. And um, if you're not on the side of some political party or some notion, or perhaps, I don't know, a system, a larger system, the beast system, if you're not on the side of the party in control, well, then odds are at some point that individual will be targeted. So I just want to say, to wrap up in closing, the American dream, that expression, the American dream, people from other countries always wanted to come to the States. It's, a dream of many, be like, oh, I go to America and make it. And it's an American dream. And Americans even believed in the American dream. And I think it became a big thing in the 1950s, that phrase. But was it just a dream? Was it just a dream? Was it a fabricated reality? Is it a matrixed reality? And who gets to live the dream? And who gets to choose? And who's deciding who gets to live the dream and who doesn't? Um, we believe that we have inalienable rights given to us by a creator God. But if those rights are taken away, then it is a crime against humanity, right? So I just pray for the endurance of people, of believers in God and Jesus Christ, that you have endurance to run this race and hold on. I think if anybody's targeted and they don't quite understand it and they feel suicidal, I'd say encourage you to get help, to seek help, because the part of this program is to get people to eventually off themselves. And allegedly, the stalkers have a party when people do that. I would say not give these demonic infested skin suits the pleasure, but that's me. So may you have the endurance and the mental fortitude if you're going through this. Seek help. There are groups out there. They are infiltrated by people who aren't of the same mind, but there are groups out there, and they will give you resources to endure this. All right, thanks for listening. God bless.